VB MMA picks for UFC Fight Night. Vettori versus Cannonier on Saturday, June 17th from the Apex in Las Vegas with the man himself, VB, joined by a special guest this week. We're getting the gang back together, VB, for a pretty good card. We're back in Las Vegas after last week's action in Vancouver. Pretty good week, VB. Did it all go as planned? And say hello to Poppy.
Yeah, it's been a few months since we had him, so we had to, bring him back, and we need to hear his sharp takes again. You know what I mean? So he's back here, and unfortunately, he's still in a triangle, but I think he will be fine. What's up, Augustin?
What's up, guys? It's good to be back. Solid card, so I'm sure we'll find some good ways to make money.
That's a real good card, guys. I mean, you think about last week. Sure, we had a championship bout and all that, but to get, two of the top 4 or 5 contenders in the middleweight division for a feature this week. VB, last week, like I said, things went pretty well. Just want to get your feelings on Nunes's retirement and how that card went.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good card, honestly. I thought, pre-card it was like meh, but actually delivered. Actually, I think it kind of delivered more than I thought it would. So I was pretty, satisfied with the card overall. A lot of, upsets happened on that card. Like multiple dogs won. So overall, good card for betting, good card for entertainment. And I think a lot of fights made sense, and a lot of potential fights to be made after that card. Like Oliveira getting a big win, and probably he's gonna fight again this year, and some other ones they won. Like pretty good card overall. I would say like 8 out of 10.
Poppy, is that it for Amanda? You believe her, right?
Yeah, she's moving on. She wants to go be a family woman or whatever her next step is. She's not fighting anymore, though.
Certainly looked in peak form. Certainly, I think she could do it again. Maybe it wasn't overwhelming, but I'm not sure anyone would still be able to take her, even if she's leaving some money on the table. But that might be a conversation for another time. Want to say hello to Gerardo here joining us, and Lou as well. All right, guys, we're going to preview a couple of fights, including the main event, Vettori and Cannonier. But before that, we have 2 bouts to discuss. We'll get right to the action right now. This one is on ESPN Plus, a preliminary card followed by the main card. So let's get it started. This will be the anchor of the preliminary card on ESPN Plus. Let's talk about bantamweights. Well, we got Raoni Barcelos, the 36-year-old Brazilian. He's 17-4, 5-3 in the UFC. He's lost 3 of his last 4 bouts, including that first-round knockout to Umar Nurmagomedov. He's also fought another Nurmagomedov, famously, I think, at least for him in his career so far in the UFC. This last loss was back in January. He's going up against Miles Johns, a 29-year-old from Kansas, 13-2, 4-2 in the UFC. He's off that unanimous decision win over Morales last November. Poppy, this one opened as high as 245, so maybe we're seeing a little bit of take here on the underdog in Johns. Poppy, bantamweights.
Yeah, I'm sitting on my hands right now. I'm waiting for a better number on Raoni Barcelos potentially if this Miles Johns money keeps trickling in. Generally, Miles Johns is somebody that I'm looking to bet against in the UFC. I just don't really believe in his skill set all that much. And Barcelos, even though he's a bit older and he just got knocked out by Umar in a way that makes him look like maybe his chin is going, I still think the skill gap is so big here that Barcelos could potentially cover a big price tag. But like I said, at minus 200, I'm not exactly rushing to the window to get my money down. But we've seen when you give Barcelos somebody with a limited skill set, you think Trevin Jones, think Khalid Taha, he covers massive price tags in those fights. So could he potentially look 70% hindsight here? I could see that. So I'm just sitting and waiting and seeing how far this Miles Johns money will go. I know a lot of people might blindly bet into someone being 29 years old off of a win, going against somebody at Barcelos' age off of a knockout loss. So we'll see what happens.
VB is one obviously expected to go the distance. How do we see this one? A big favorite, and it's juiced pretty high on this total, expected to go the distance.
Yeah. So first, like Barcelos, as Dagestan said, is coming off a knockout loss, but guy he lost to, people think is the future champion, and he got caught like with like a weird shot a little bit, the shot he didn't even see at all. Like he was some kind of not an usual knockout, I'll put it that way. You know what I mean? It was a good knockout, but it was like one you see every few months at best, So it's not like he got hit by some kind of like small shot and just crumbled. It was like a pretty good shot, and it was precision was there, and he just went to sleep. As far as like Miles Jones go, I mean, he's 29, he's younger. He looked pretty bad in his last fight. Like I don't even know if he won that fight. Like that fight actually got Morales cut from the UFC, so that was tough for him. Before that, he lost to Castaneda, and before it, he beat two guys who are not in the UFC anyway as well. Anderson dos Santos, I don't believe is in the UFC anymore. Natividad is definitely not in the UFC. He has a win over Cole Smith by split decision. That guy is not in the UFC as well. So, basically his like wins are all against people who are not in the UFC anymore. You see, like the thing with like Miles Johnson is his cardio is never, never on spot. Like he always looks like really tired late, and also like he like didn't really improve, in the UFC. Like he's been the same guy since the debut, which I don't want to see. He was 25, 26. I was expecting more improvements, and if anything lately, he's been looking worse. So like, how can I back this guy? I don't know. I get Barcelos is, a little bit older and he's coming off a knockout loss, but skill for skill, man, this fight is a mismatch, to be honest. Like there is not a one area where I think Miles Johnson is better than Barcelos. Absolutely nowhere. Is there a chance that somehow Miles Johnson like knocks out Barcelos with some kind of shot, like another knockout maybe for Barcelos? If that happens, Barcelos is probably done. If he gets knocked out here, he probably should retire, to be honest. But like if you look at his performance over like Trevin Jones, like I mean that's one of the most well-rounded performances you will ever see. That was absolute dominant win over 15 minutes. He took down Trevin Jones, outstruck him, dropped him, hurt him many times, mounted him at some point. I mean, he gave him absolute ass beating, in the fight. So that was really like great win. I actually bet him there at minus 240. I mean, he looked minus 500 at least, and he has some good wins in the UFC. He has a win over Saidul Magomedov. He has a submission win over Chris Gutierrez. And lately he's been fighting killers, and he had to drop few fights. Like he lost to Umar, and Victor Henry is also like decent fighter, and now he's like massive step down in competition again. I don't see how like Miles Johnson is much better than like Trevin Jones, to be honest. If they fight, I would probably even like favor Trevin Jones, over him. So I only took Barcelos. I got like minus 225. So a little bit little Sylvie, but I don't know what people are seeing in Miles Jones. Even if he wins here in future, I'm probably still gonna fade him because he's not UFC caliber in my opinion. He's gonna be cut. at some point. So I don't think he improved at all in the UFC, which is another thing I don't like. And Barcelos, of course, the age is a big thing here. And if he wasn't 36, honestly, I would probably put a max bet on him, you know. But you gotta consider everything, so you can't go that big, you know.
Hey, Poppy, what's the target price? VB said he already laid 225, and you said you're waiting for a price. Now, when I consider, value is a loosely thrown around term. To me, value is when the price changes in my favor without the dynamics of the event causing those factors, such as an injury or other determining information that may change the price, not just public perception or maybe just a rogue number or a bad number by the books. But VB is willing to go, was willing to go 225. Do you have a target number here? You said you're not rushing to the window at $2, but I still would think that there is a little bit of value there.
Yeah, for example, if we got to minus 150, this is going to be a really big spot for me. If I could see this
you're 175.
I think I probably lay $1.75. So we'll see what happens. I don't have a great read on where this line's going. I think a lot of the algorithm bettors are going to just be, like I said, betting into those age advantages and career trajectories.
Well, you say 150 is a sharp better, but is that a possibility?
Boy, I hope so. Maybe I'm being a bit hopeful, and maybe once I get through all the tape, I'll be able to justify the minus 200. But at the current moment, it's just that with this age gap, I generally am not trying to lay minus 200 with guys at, how old is Barcelos now? 36. He's definitely a candidate for a major drop off in performance. So it's always tough to pick when that's going to happen. But yeah, like I said, he could potentially cover a big price tag here. So if I had to play something at the current number, it would be Barcelos.
BB, were you going to add something in regards to the line movement possibly?
Yeah, I'm looking at the market. It's usually 215, 225 right now over the most of the books. I mean, I don't see it going minus 150. I don't even see it going minus 170. I think it's gonna stay here or maybe move back up a little bit. So, I could be wrong though, because people again look at this age gap, and it's a real thing. Like that age gap actually really matters as far as stats go, and I can see why people would take younger guy. But honestly, like, yeah, I don't know. I have to see Barcelos slow down that much, so he loses to like a guy like Miles Jones before I like fade him again, because skill wise, I don't think this fight is very competitive. We'll see though. I could be wrong, and Miles Jones can look like a favorite here. Who knows?
All right, guys. Thanks for that. We'll move on now to our next bout. Now we're moving into the main card on ESPN Plus on Saturday night. In fact, this one goes just before, if I'm not mistaken, a couple fights before here. The main event, second to last fight of the evening with middleweights. Armen Petrosyan, the 32-year-old Russo-Armenian, we'll call him, 7-2. 2-1 in the UFC's off that unanimous decision win over Dobson last October. Of course, he's a former Contender Series winner to get his career jump-started in the promotion. He's taking on 27-year-old Christian Leroy Duncan from Gloucester, England. 8-0, 1-0 in the UFC. Won his debut, of course. He came from Cage Warriors, where he posted a 7-0 record. He beat Todorovic, but Todorovic suffered an injury. I don't know if you guys could tell where that one was going. You guys will tell me. It turned out to be a first-round victory back in March for Duncan, so he's coming back about 3 months later here. And this one opened as high as $1.70 on DKVB, and now we're talking about $1.45. So is this a serious move on Petrosyan? Is there value on Duncan, VB middleweights?
Yeah. So as far as that fight you mentioned, Todorovic's last fight, I think Todorovic was gonna get beat up in the fight regardless. And Todorovic is a guy that like does like some kind of, you know, like weird things in his fights. Like he loses the way that you'd never expect. He wins the way you never expect. Like he loses to a decision to like Rodriguez. Like who does that? And then he like injures his leg and he gets taken down by coconut bombs. But he takes down like Michel Pereira. I mean, it's like this guy. I don't know, weird dude, and he injured his leg, and I think he was gonna get beat up against the cage and probably knocked out. Either way. So I bet him big there. I bet Duncan pretty big there. And Raymond, we actually had like few Cage Warriors events we actually broke because of this guy. I
Hmm.
had those Cage Warriors shows, and I actually max bet Duncan before in Cage Warriors. He's one of my most max bet fighters outside of the UFC. You know, so he's bringing 7-0 record. So I've been doing pretty well betting this guy. And so far, I mean, in the UFC, we didn't really see much, from this guy. There is a lot of questions still about his cardio and you know what happens if he gets a little bit tired and can he overcome this and that. But honestly, man, this guy has like very impressive amateur record too. He fought absolute killers at amateur level. Those guys are doing well too. Like some of them are 21-0 amateurs. I mean, amazing fighters, some of them. And he also beat like few good guys in Cage Warriors, like the guy Jati Milan, who was undefeated, like pretty good fighter. I think the guy, is UFC level probably as well. And um, some, a lot of experience. Like people think he has only 8 fights, but to be honest, he has more experience than Armin does. And people are like overlooking this guy, but I think this guy is. I mean, of course, there's some questions about him at this point. I could be wrong, but I think he's top 15. You know, um, as far as this fight goes, I mean, I've been pretty like I don't know if with Armin, I bet him against Rodriguez plus 170. He won, but there's a questions about the decision. Then he loses to Kyle Borralho, where I faded him. Actually, Max with Borralho. That's my last fight. I mean, I wasn't sure what to do. Just I think I didn't bet anybody, and he wasn't like dominant in that fight. Like he fought AJ Dobson, who honestly not looking good right. In the UFC, and he's been looking pretty one dimensional so far. And I think he won that fight by 1 round. Like 2 rounds to one or something. It was pretty close. There were some people saying Dobson won, and that fight honestly told me a lot about this guy because if you play that game that he played with Dobson, I think Duncan is gonna cover this price tag pretty easily. Duncan has 8 reach, advantage. Like that's a huge reach advantage to have. That's absolutely massive, man. I mean, in this fight where you see a striking kind of fight, a little bit maybe sparring in the beginning, they kind of fight. Like they kind of reach, man. I mean, it's massive. 8 inches. I mean, you barely see that. In MMA, like it's almost unheard of to be honest. So I think he can actually look big favorite if Armen somehow doesn't find a way to kick his way. Like he can kick him at some spots and maybe land a huge head kicks here and there, which I'm kind of afraid of. Because Duncan, I've seen him beat some head kicks in amateurs. So I hope he's a little bit careful with that. But overall, he has good footwork and he avoids boxing pretty well. But I'm a little bit afraid with like kicks. What is it gonna be? Because I don't see Armin landing ton of shots with boxing. So um, yeah, huge reach advantage here. I think if anybody is gonna get a takedown, it's gonna be him too. Um, he's a very athletic guy. Explosive. I think like all the finishing upside is on him. So I mean that's basically everything I want to see in a 60-40 kind of fight. So yeah, I think he has upside to look like big favorite here, like huge. So I'm gonna take him. Raymond, when you hear my card, it's pretty decent sized spot for me. So I hope he gets it done and we'll we'll cash.
Poppy, in this one, mentioned that line at DK, but maybe they were just flattening with the rest of the market. The move hasn't been overly significant to the underdog, but it has been slight market wide, probably just really just 10 or 15 cents at most. That DK number was kind of rogue, but I will mention that the total has definitely been a 20-cent move to the under, no matter where you look, pretty much across the market. Some of them even opened up a little bit higher than that, but that would call for a little bit of explosiveness possibly in this one. Your market read and prediction and analysis for Petrosyan and Duncan.
Yeah, I think the under is more correlated with the Duncan side. I think Petrosyan's path and upside in this fight is really just to kick and move his way to some sort of tight decision, maybe a split decision. Just staying on the outside, kicking the legs frequently, and just staying away from the boxing of Duncan. VB made most of the major points. It's listed as an 8-inch reach advantage, but we see all the time that sometimes they mismeasure some of these things by an inch here or there. So it could be anywhere from 8 to 5, but that aside, it's going to be a massive reach advantage. And in a predominantly kickboxing fight, to overcome a 5 to 8-inch reach advantage, you've got to be significantly the better striker. You've got to be covering the skill gap and be able to get in and out of the range and avoid all those longer range weapons. And I think the UFC is trying to build Christian Leroy Duncan. I think they view him as somebody that they can market to the British fan base. And I think Armen Petrosyan is more of an expendable asset. We saw in his fight against Gregory Rodriguez that he was kind of getting backed up by the bigger, longer, more powerful striker. And he seemed a bit discouraged at times. I think that being in the cage with Duncan is going to be real imposing. And Duncan's going to have real good optics backing up Petrosyan with shots. And I'm not sure if he gets a finish or not, but I think there's definitely value on minus 145 line, just given all these athletic advantages and grappling and finishing upsides.
All right, Poppy, on Duncan, they're looking at Duncan here. Like I said, anytime you get a little bit of a price lower than that opener, I'm interested in that as value. So get to that main event in just a moment between Vettori and Cannonier. Going to talk more middleweight action here in just a moment. But first, don't forget, if you want to get VB's MMA picks for this Saturday night's UFC Fight Night, Vettori versus Cannonier, just slide into his DMs. Follow him on Twitter. You can connect with VB directly and get his picks for this weekend's MMA card from the Apex in Las Vegas. UFC Fight Night between Vettori and Cannonier. You see, it's a pretty big card, good bouts all the way. VB's got a packed card here. I want to say it's 17 plays, including props, on this card. So VB, I think it's a good card. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm supposed to be the sarcastic one, always looking for some weaknesses in these cards, putting together week after week. But the fight that we're about to preview gives us the number 3, number 4 contenders for the big belt from Adesanya, and we'll talk about it in just a moment. But I like the card this week, and I like the fights you've chosen to preview today.
Yeah, I like the card too. So we have a lot of fights this week. Last week we had 11 fights. This week we have more. I think we have 14. So I hope all 14 stay intact, and we're gonna have, at least repeat of last week. If that happens, I'm pretty happy. So far this year, I profit. I mean, almost every card besides 2, and 2 losses were pretty tiny. So I hope to keep it going, and I have a lot of plays this week. I have like few big spots this week, which should, I mean, if they hit, like, we are basically playing with house money, you know what I mean? So I will try to keep it going, and you can hit me up on Twitter or go to apixie.com. There's link in the description, and also please, like, if you're listening, like, we swept last week, we sweep almost every week, and you guys don't subscribe. I don't know what's going on, Raymond. We always forget to mention to subscribe, but I am not gonna forget it now. So if you're watching this, subscribe. We don't ask it every week, but I hope I hope you like your show, and if you do, you gotta do that. And also like I know we do few fights, but we like pick them well, and we have like huge win streak right now. So you know, click the like button too, and let's keep it going.
Yeah, VB, and look at what George Gennaro says about this. Look at this big week. Where can we get these other? Can we get other action from you, VB? PFL, LFA, Bellator, all going off this weekend. I mean, I
Yeah.
looked at the odds preparing for the show on all the cards. Man, there must be 50 or 60 fights with all these promotions combined.
Yeah, I taped like I don't know how many fights today, maybe 35 or something like that. I mean, I'm feeling, but I'm gonna, release my cards soon for Bellator and PFL. As far as LFA goes, I still need to do more research, but um, Bellator card is really stacked. To be honest, there is some good fights on the Bellator card. Betting wise, I think it's decent as well, but man, it's stacked. To be honest, I'm excited for Bellator this week, and we have a lot of MMA, these days. So I'm happy to make money from all the leagues. Yep.
Yeah, VB doesn't discriminate against any of these promotions. Wherever the money, where he'll go. But if you want to get his UFC picks for the world's top organization and most viewed card this week, contact VB MMA Picks on Twitter. You'll speak directly to VB. He doesn't have a customer service department. He is the customer service department. And of course, you'll spend more on the refreshments than you will on VB's fight card for this week, VB. All right, let's get into it. We'll talk about this main event coming up. Like I said, this is no slouch. This is almost promotion, worthy of, well, it is top billing, obviously, between these two. You got the number 3 contender, both former title contenders, both took on Adesanya and lost within the last couple of years. Marvin Vettori, he's the 29-year-old Italian, 19-6, 9-4-1 in the UFC. He's off that win over Daladze in March by unanimous decision. All but 2 of his 14 UFC fights have finished by decision. That covers almost 7 years of action. Taking on Jared Cannonier, the 39-year-old from Dallas, now fighting out of Anchorage, Alaska, obviously was in line for a title shot as well against Adesanya. His bout against Israel was last July. Vettori fought Adesanya back in June of 21. Cannonier is 16-6, 9-6 in the UFC. He's won 3 of his last 4, including that split decision win against Strickland, Poppy, last December. Cannonier opened here, no doubt a more significant favorite than this, and Vettori has moved. Seeing some pick'ems out there, but looks like Vettori has moved to the slight favorite. Cannonier opened as high as $1.55 at a couple of offshore books, $1.45 at some of the more prominent American books. So pretty significant move here. What's that relate to, and how do you see this one?
Wow. So it's not too often that I'm going to feel like I'm going to advocate for a 39-year-old against a 29-year-old at evens in a UFC main event. But here we are. I think that Vettori is going to have a really tough time getting his game going against someone like Jared Cannonier. For one, we just saw him fight Roman Dolidze, who is another big, powerful striker, and he was able to get Marvin fighting on his back foot and resort to a kick-heavy game and movement game. I think that his legendary durability might be starting to wither away a little bit. We saw some strange reactions to some of those head kicks from Paulo Costa, as well as Robert Whittaker. And then we saw him take massive shots from Roman Dolidze, and he wasn't just walking through it like nothing happened anymore. Now he's starting to back up like a human a little bit. And usually with these fighters, the next thing that happens is they get clipped and sometimes they go down. So that wouldn't shock me. And then as far as the grappling dynamic, I think Vettori is going to try and push for takedowns, but Cannonier historically has a really solid takedown defense and get up game. We saw against the likes of Glover Teixeira, Jan Blachowicz, Ion Kutalaba, that Derek Brunson, that once he gets taken down, he's not going to just lay on his back and gas out. I think that he's going to continue to try and fight back to his feet. He's got a solid guard game, and his objective is always to get back up. And then on the feet, I think he's the more technical guy and the more powerful guy. So until I see Jared Cannonier slow down considerably, which we haven't seen yet, I think he can beat someone like Marvin Vettori.
VB, that's been the move here, as we mentioned, with Vettori opening up a much more significant favorite here. Has it been, in your opinion, a matter of public perception, or has the books just adjusted here?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, he was a dog. So I mean, books are looking at this fight and they're seeing, Cannonier winning a decision over Strickland and Marvin barely winning a decision over a guy who wasn't in top 10. And they see that and they think, oh, maybe Marvin is really slowing down, and maybe it's time for him to get, hurt in these fights, because he eats a lot of big shots, and he has no problems, but you can only eat so many. And at some point, like, fighter just can't take it anymore. Weird thing is he's only 29 here, so like, we could make a same case for Cannonier. He's like 10 years older, and he may get knocked out himself here. Who knows? But I just don't see like Vettori carrying the kind of power to like knock out a guy like Cannonier, who went to decision with Adesanya, and as Bobby mentioned, Blachowicz, guy who is really hard to Whitaker, that shit. I mean, you name the guys he fought, only few stopped him. So I think like, I can't under like I can't like I can't even compare Marvin's power as far as like his boxing goes to like guy Cannonier. Cannonier still carries that heavyweight power. He used to be heavyweight, so this change has been massive for him. He went from unranked heavyweight to title contender at middleweight. That's a massive life lifestyle change for him, and it worked out for him, man. And honestly, like, Vettori is not gonna cover minus 115 against this guy if he doesn't wrestle. I don't think this guy's gonna be, having a lot of success on the feet if they strike. Jared is gonna land a lot of big shots. I think, whether he takes them for 5 rounds or goes down, he's not gonna, he's not gonna look good. So I think Vettori needs a takedown here, or like few, or maybe 5-10. So he needs to wrestle in this fight pretty heavy to have a chance, in my opinion. I see later him having more success, to be honest. In round 4 and 5, maybe he can get him down. If he like lifts Vettori up and dumps him or something like that, then he can maybe keep him down. But Vettori's takedowns usually come against the cage, and against the cage, Cannonier's takedown defense is like almost perfect. If you look at this Hermanson fight where he was defending almost every takedown, and he stopped the guy in his hometown in Denmark, or I think in his home country, and in other fights he showed like decent get up game against Glover. So I don't know if Vettori's wrestling is gonna work, and then we have a striking fight where he's gonna have a hard time. So clear path for Vettori in some fights. Again, as I said, is wrestling. Here I don't see it, happening. Like, his best win is probably like Kevin Holland, like where he fought like clear performance 5-0. But again, he had to take him down and and hold him down. In this fight, if you can't do that, then he's kind of stuck on the feet, where Cannonier is throwing bombs at you the whole time. I still don't know how like Kelvin Gastelum survived that hook he landed on him. Kelvin Gastelum made that shot and caught up, but Vettori maybe can't take it anymore, and he may goes down here and is knocked out. I lean that this fight actually goes over. Even though there's a chance Vettori's chin is kind of gone. I think if I had like, if I had to choose, like, I would take probably 4.5 over still, because at the end of the day, Marvin is still yet to be knocked out. So uh, that matters, And as far as like Cannonier goes, I think if he wins this fight, I think he should be in line, or really close to a title shot. He won his last fight, maybe another one. Let's see if Adesanya, where is he after? I don't know what happens with him, and I think over should be also like value, but I'm thinking about it because again, I'm betting on a Cannonier, a guy who is gonna be throwing bombs, and then I'm rooting for him not to catch him at the same time. So do I want to be in that game? And then like let's see Marvin gets submission and I lose both bets, which can also happen. Who knows? So I think I'm gonna stay with Cannonier side, but I definitely understand over, in this spot because both guys are durable and I don't think like Jared has been finished at middleweight. Uh, I could be wrong. So that's two durable guys at this weight class, and over should be the side. But we've seen crazy things in MMA. You know what I mean? And if Marvin's chin is gone, he could be in trouble. Maybe even early.
Hey, Bobby, we're in the apex now, so nobody's going to end up booing. And I understand VB saying there could be some excitement, but still leans to the over. So Gerardo was asking, could we see this one actually lack some fireworks and just end up getting to the cards?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a good chance that Vettori is going to get on his bike and fight a bit like he did against Roman Dolidze. After he felt a bit of his power, he just tried to calf kick and move and outpoint his way to a victory. I think at some point in somebody's career, they tend to switch up their style and try to avoid taking so much damage. And I think Marvin's now trying to turn that page. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that with someone like Jared Cannonier. I think, like BB said, he probably has to get his wrestling game going, which, if history is any indicator, it's really hard to hold down Jared Cannonier.
VB, it sounds like we got to get this one now, but is this line finally settled? Like I said, I mean, there definitely was, Vettori as high as, I don't know. I saw as high as 155, but I know market wide, mostly 140s,
Yeah.
145s on the opener. Is this going to be the price? And you still feel pretty good about the lack of value?
I don't think it's lack of value. Up until I would say minus 140, Cannonier I think should be the side around there. I would bet him. As far as like where this line goes, I mean it's a UFC main event, so this line isn't gonna move after every $3,000 bets. So I think this line is about where it should be, and it's gonna stay here. So maybe some more money is gonna come on Cannonier later, but it's hard to say. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Like Marvin again, like if you look at this couple of last fights again, he's been fighting pretty reserved against Roman, as Dagestan mentioned. There wasn't the look you want to see in 29-year-old, And I think like actually in Costa fight, I mean he ate a lot of big shots in that fight. Even though he won a decision, he ate some huge shots. Like some of those head kicks were brutal. So all that, fighting all these top level fighters, guy like Costa who hits like a truck, and some other people, you can't be like invincible for forever. So yeah, I think Cannonier KO is live too, but I still lean over and still like you know Cannonier by decision. I think, but there is a upside on Cannonier. There's a more upside I think on Cannonier than there is on Vettori. For sure.
In this fight, but how about moving forward? Like you guys said, I mean, 39 years old, you still got, Whitaker, Pereira, and Izzy, of course. Where do you go when you're 39 and you're, a
Yeah.
featured fighter on a main card and you're getting long in the tooth?
I mean, if you look at like they both fought Whitaker, and Whitaker beat them both, right? Um, I mean, Whitaker absolutely dominated Vettori. You know, I don't want to say like he did the same to Cannonier. I mean, he definitely won the fight clearly, but Cannonier got injured in that fight. So that also matters. So maybe if Cannonier wins, maybe they rematch with Whitaker. They do the rematch, and finally Whitaker fights again for a title for a fifth time or something. But I don't know. It's like I don't know where the division goes because Adesanya beat almost all of them at this point.
Yeah.
Some of them twice, and Cannonier is not an easy matchup for Vettori. So it's just hard to say. Like all these top five guys are losing to Whitaker and Adesanya. You know, even of course like outside of top five, even more so. So I don't know. I just don't know if Adesanya is gonna like stay at middleweight too long. To be honest, I think he may move up and fight winner of Pereira, Yan or something. I don't know. He beat everybody at the division, so um, hard to see. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I mean, look at the odds right now. I mean, basically talking a toss up. So we'll
Yeah.
see on Saturday night. And thank you to all of our commenters as well this week. Great job, VB. I don't know if you have anything to say before I get us out of here, but just to let everybody know, you can get VB's MMA picks for this Saturday night's card, UFC Fight Night on Saturday, June 17th from the Apex in Las Vegas. It's Vettori and Cannonier main event plus 13 other fights, and VB has for you a whole slew of plays. I think I counted 17 plays on the card this week. VB, you got that big card, going to be a good card this week, and all those other promotions as well. What can you say about this week's action?
Yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of MMA this week. A lot of spots I will be playing, and I'm pretty excited for this week, honestly. So, let's get it going. Good luck to everybody, and see you next week.
All right, thanks a lot, VB, and thank you, of course, to Dagestan Poppy joining us again, and thank you to everyone commenting, and also everyone who watches the show through YouTube after the live show. So come on and join us live one time if you can. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Great job. We'll be with you again next time for more VB MMA picks.